It was just past noon in the middle of Oshodi's usual rough day, horns blaring, street hawkers yelling, and buses screeching to a stop. But in a single, heart-stopping moment, time stood still. A sharp scream pierced through the air. Then came the sound, bang! People turned around. There, lying on the roadside like a broken doll, was a girl. Her legs were bent unnaturally. Blood smeared her forehead. Her lips were parted, her eyes half open. A second girl, her exact look-alike, dropped beside her, screaming, "Mimi, wake up, please. Somebody help." Her cries cut through the noise of the market like a knife. A black Bentley slammed its brakes and rolled to a stop just beside the scene. Its door swung open, and a man in a blue kaftan rushed out, horror written all over his face. He stood frozen for a second, staring at the bleeding child, then shouted, "Driver! Get her in the car! Now!" The driver leapt into action, lifting the unconscious girl as the twin refused to let go of her hand, sobbing. No one knew who the man was just yet, but that single moment would change all of their lives forever. And back at the corner restaurant, Amanda was inside stacking used plate shaving, no idea that she would never see the twins again. Let's go back to where this story truly began. 2 months earlier, Amanda, 23 years old, was just another poor waitress working long shifts in a small restaurant in Oshodi. Her uniform was black and white, with a white cap that never sat right on her natural hair. Her salary barely covered her mother's medicine and her little brother's school fees, but she was grateful to have work. She'd been serving food at that restaurant for nearly a year, but something changed one Monday morning. That was the first day she saw them. 2 girls, identical twins. They were sitting on the pavement beside the restaurant's back alley, wearing ash-colored gowns so worn out they were nearly threadbare. Their dresses were stained with dried mud, and their cheeks smudged with dust. Their hair was tangled and rough, scattered around their faces like a halo of sadness. But it was their eyes that struck Amanda the most. Those eyes weren't just tired, they looked haunted. She noticed them again the next day. Still sitting in the same spot, still hungry, still holding each other's hands like they were the only things they had left in the world. Amanda felt something inside her shift. She couldn't look away. "Poor girls," she whispered under her breath as she cleared the kitchen counter. She'd seen a lot of street kids in Oshodi were rough, some aggressive, but these two, they looked like they'd never even raised their voices. Still, she said nothing, until the 3rd day. That day, Amanda couldn't take it anymore. As she stood in the staff toilet during her short break, tears filled her eyes. She remembered her own story. The way she and her mother were turned away from hospitals because they had no money. The way her baby brother had died in her arms when she was just 14. Kindness was what they needed, and she couldn't just watch, so she made a plan. Later that evening, while Madam Cynthia was busy shouting at a customer over pepper soup, Amanda carefully filled 2 takeaway packs with jollof rice, tucked spoons inside, wrapped the packs in a black plastic bag, and tiptoed through the back door. The twins were still there. One of them was crying softly. The other had her arms around her, gently rocking her. Amanda squatted beside them. "Hi," she said softly. "Don't be scared. I brought you something." The girls looked up, startled. Amanda smiled gently as she handed the bag over. "My name is Amanda," she said. "What's yours?" They hesitated. "I'm Mara," one of them said quietly. "And this is my sister, Mimi." That was the beginning of everything. From that day on, Amanda made it her mission. Every single day, she brought food. Sometimes it was rice, sometimes beans. On Sundays, if things went well, they got meat too, but it was always done in secret, because Madam Cynthia, she hated beggars. "Do you want this place to turn into a homeless shelter?" she once yelled when she saw Amanda giving leftover rice to a boy in the parking lot. So Amanda had to sneak around even though she paid for the food with her own salary. Half of what she earned each month went into those 2 plates. She didn't tell anyone, but every night when she closed her eyes, she knew she had done the right thing. And every day she saw Mimi and Mara smile, her heart felt full. One afternoon, she finally asked the question that had been burning in her chest. "Why are you girls out here all alone?" Their answer crushed her. "Our parents died," Mimi said. "A big trailer hit their car, Amanda gasped. They were buried 3 days later, Mara added. Then our aunt and uncle came. They chased us out of our house. Said we killed our parents. They called us witches. Amanda was speechless. They sold our house, everything, even our school books. They didn't give us a single naira, Mimi whispered. Tears rolled down Amanda's cheeks. She reached out and pulled them into a warm hug. I'm so sorry, she whispered. No child should ever go through that. But then, 2 months later, the twins didn't show up. Amanda waited by the back door for hours. She thought maybe they were sick. Maybe they went somewhere else. But days passed. Then weeks. Still no sign. She asked around the market. No one had seen them. No one knew their names. Amanda cried herself to sleep for nights, praying, whispering, God, please protect them. But the silence only grew louder. 3 years later, Amanda still worked at that same restaurant. Life hadn't changed much. She looked older than her 40 years now, her face tired from stress, her hands rough from work. But she still greeted customers with a smile and served food with grace. That was when it happened. A loud honk from outside. Then came a fleet of car-shiny black SUVs with tinted glass pulling up in front of the restaurant. Everyone rushed out, including Madam Cynthia. Amanda stayed behind the counter, confused. Then the doors opened. Out stepped 2 elegant young women, tall, confident, wearing white coats and stethoscopes around their necks. And beside them, a man in a fine blue agbada, with a beard neatly trimmed and eyes full of pride. Amanda felt her heart stop. The girls looked familiar, too familiar. Mimi? She gasped. Mara? The twins stepped forward, smiling. Hello, Auntie Amanda, they said in unison. Amanda dropped the plate in her hands. Tears filled her eyes. Amanda stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it over the noise of the crowd. Customers rushed outside, pushing past one another to see what the commotion was about. The sleek black Bentleys, the security men in black suits with earpieces, and the flashing lights had transformed the modest restaurant into the center of attention. Madam Cynthia stepped out of her office and stared in disbelief. What is going on here? She barked, her voice sharp. But even she fell silent when she saw them. Mimi and Mara walked forward slowly. They looked like something out of a dream-beautiful white lab coats, polished shoes, and stethoscopes around their necks. Their once matted hair was now braided in elegant cornrows, their skin glowing, their eyes full of confidence. They were no longer the dusty, hungry girls who begged for jollof rice by the back door. Amanda's hands trembled as she covered her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes. She took a step forward, her voice shaking. Mimi? Mara? The girls smiled. It's us, Auntie Amanda, Mara said softly. Amanda stumbled forward and wrapped them in her arms. Oh my God, where have you girls been? I thought something terrible happened to you. Mimi hugged her tight. Something almost did. But someone helped us. Just like you did. That's when the tall, dark-skinned man in the blue agbada stepped forward. His presence was powerful, calm, rich, respected. Are you Amanda? He asked gently. Amanda wiped her tears and nodded, unsure what to say. My name is Chief Donald Okonkwo, he said, offering a warm smile. These 2 girls are now my daughters. The restaurant gasped. Madam Cynthia's mouth hung open, her arms crossed stiffly, as if trying to hide her shock. Amanda stared at him. Wait, you're the billionaire? The one from the TV? Yes, Donald said with a slight nod. But more importantly, I'm a father now, thanks to these girls. Amanda was confused. I don't understand. Donald looked around at the crowd, then turned to the girls. Do you want to tell her? Mimi nodded and took Amanda's hand. Come, let's sit down. They moved inside, sat at a quiet table near the window. The restaurant was still buzzing with whispers, phones recording, and customers peeking from behind chairs. But for Amanda, the rest of the world disappeared. I'll tell you everything, Mara said. It all happened the morning they disappeared. Mimi and Mara had left under the bridge early, as usual, excited to meet Amanda. They had whispered plans to ask if she could help them find a part-time job. They wanted to earn money to buy second-hand schoolbooks. They were tired of begging. But as they crossed the road, a car came out of nowhere. The tires screeched. A man screamed. Then everything went black for Mimi. Mara picked up the story, her voice low and steady. I thought I lost her. She wasn't moving. Her eyes were rolled back. Amanda covered her mouth again, her eyes wide. That's when Chief Donald came out of the car, Mara continued. He was crying too. He told his driver to carry Mimi. He told them to save her no matter what. Amanda turned to Donald. You hit her? Donald sighed. Yes. I was rushing to the airport. I didn't see them. It was an accident, but God used it for something greater. He looked into Amanda's eyes. At the hospital, I sat with Mara for hours. She refused to leave her sister's side. The way she held her hand, the way she cried and begged God. He paused, his voice tightening with emotion. It reminded me of my own daughters. Amanda blinked. My twin girls, Donald said quietly. They died in a car accident, 2 years before I met Mimi and Mara. They were on their way to school. I never forgave myself for not driving them that day. Amanda felt her throat tighten. My wife left me soon after. Said I wasn't the same anymore. She was right. I wasn't. Mimi picked up from there. After I woke up, he told us he couldn't let us go back under the bridge. Mara smiled faintly. He adopted us, took us into his home, gave us clothes, tutors, love. He treated us like real daughters, Mimi whispered. For the first time since our parents died, we felt safe. Amanda held both their hands, completely speechless. I prayed every day for God to protect you, she whispered. I had no idea he would bless you like this. You were the answer to our first prayer, Mara said. When no one helped us, you did. You fed us. You loved us. Amanda looked down at her worn-out uniform. The sleeves were frayed, her shoes nearly broken. She had aged too fast under the weight of life. And yet, this moment made every struggle feel worth it. Donald leaned forward. They told me about you. About how you risked your job, paid from your own salary, and hid food for them every day. That's rare. That's kindness. Amanda blushed. I didn't do much. I just didn't want them to suffer. Mimi's eyes lit up. That's why we came, she said. To thank you. And to change your life the way you changed ours. Amanda looked up slowly. What do you mean? Donald stood and gestured toward the door. Come with us. Amanda hesitated. But I'm working. Mara turned to Madam Cynthia, who had been eavesdropping from the counter. We'll take care of it. Madam Cynthia tried to stand tall, but her face had turned red. Of course. Amanda can take the day off. Amanda chuckled through her tears as the girls led her outside. The convoy of cars waited, engines humming quietly. Amanda stared at them in disbelief. Where are we going? She asked. To show you something, Mimi said, grinning. 20 minutes later, Amanda stood in front of a large, beautifully painted building in the heart of Surulere. The sign above it read, Kindness Restaurant. Her name was written on a small gold plaque by the door. Amanda looked at the twins, her eyes wide. This is for me, she gasped. Mara nodded. Yes, your own restaurant. Amanda broke down in tears, falling to her knees. But why me? Mimi knelt beside her. Because your kindness fed us, until destiny found us. 3 months had passed since the shocking moment Amanda found herself standing before the gates of her own restaurant. Kindness Restaurant. The name alone drew people in, but it was the story behind it that made it legendary. Built in one of the best parts of Surulere, Lagos, it was painted in soft, warm cream, with gold accents around the windows and roof. Large glass doors opened to a beautifully furnished dining space, wooden floors, gold chandeliers, brown and beige cushions on each chair. The scent of freshly cooked Nigerian meals floated through the air, smoky jollof rice, spicy pepper soup, and sizzling grilled chicken. Amanda, once a worn-out waitress in Oshodi, was now the proud manager and owner. She wore a smart navy blue uniform with manager stitched in gold over her chest. Her white cap was gone, replaced with confidence, elegance, and a soft glow that came from fulfillment. But Amanda never forgot who she was. She hired women who had stories like hers, former roadside food sellers, single mothers, girls who had dropped out of school because of poverty. She trained them all, gave them uniforms, a clean kitchen, and the same respect she had once begged for. Every day before the restaurant opened, she would gather her staff for a short prayer. And she always ended with the same words: "No one walks into Kindness Restaurant hungry and leaves the same way." The story of Amanda's transformation had gone viral on social media. Videos of Mimi and Mara arriving in their white coats with billionaire Donald had spread across the internet. People cried reading their story, how a poor waitress fed homeless twins with her own money, and how they returned years later to change her life. News stations interviewed Amanda, asking how it felt. She always smiled and said, "I didn't expect anything in return. I just didn't want them to sleep hungry." But deep down, she couldn't believe it herself. She had gone from being insulted by Madam Cynthia for wasting food on beggars to being called Madam Amanda by staff and customers alike. Still, every now and then, she'd step aside during a quiet moment, look out the window, and whisper to God, "Thank you." Meanwhile, Mimi and Mara were thriving. They were now full-time medical doctors at Gracefield Specialist Hospital, one of the most respected hospitals in Lagos. They lived in a lovely duplex Donald had gifted them after graduation, not too far from his own estate. Donald Dance, a grieving, quiet man, had come alive again. With the twins in his life, he had something to smile about, something to wake up for. His laughter had returned. His home, once filled with silence and sadness, now echoed with love and music. But even with their success, Mimi and Mara never forgot where they came from. They still visited Oshodi Bridge every Sunday, carrying food packs and medical kits to treat wounded beggars and street children. They always said, "Someone saw us when no one else did. We have to do the same." Amanda often joined them on these trips, now in her own car, wearing jeans and a polo with "Kindness Crew" written on the back. One Sunday, they found a young girl, no more than 10, coughing behind a pile of cement blocks. She was weak, with eyes that looked far too tired for someone her age. Mimi knelt beside her. "What's your name?" she asked softly. The girl whispered, "Chica." Mara checked her pulse. "She's running a fever." Amanda opened a food pack and gave her some rice. Chica grabbed it with trembling hands and began to eat slowly, tears falling down her cheeks. It was in that moment that Amanda felt something rise inside her. Hope. This was what it was all for. But just as things seemed to be perfectly aligned, life reminded them that peace was never permanent. It started with a phone call. Amanda had just finished a long day at the restaurant and was locking the door when her phone rang. It was Mimi. "Auntie Amanda, we need to talk," she said, her voice low. Amanda's heart skipped. "What is it?" Mimi hesitated. "Our uncles, the ones who chased us out. They found us." Amanda's eyes widened. "What? How?" "They saw the video online. They've been coming to Donald's house. They went to the hospital too." Amanda's grip tightened around her phone. "And what do they want?" Mimi sighed. "They're begging, saying it was the devil who made them do what they did. They want forgiveness." Amanda's voice turned cold. "Are you safe?" "Yes." Donald's guards turned them away. "But they keep coming." Amanda stayed silent for a moment. Then she said, "Let's meet tomorrow." The next day, inside Donald's sitting room, Mimi, Mara, and Amanda sat together, quietly staring at the two visitors who now knelt before them. Their aunt, Monica, and their uncle, Emeka. They had aged. Their clothes looked expensive, but their faces were filled with guilt. "Mimi, Mara, we were wrong," Monica whispered, her hands trembling. "We lost our way. Please forgive us." Uncle Emeka nodded. "We didn't know the car accident would take your parents. We were afraid, angry, but we were wrong." Amanda stood beside the twins. "You chased them out," she said. "Stole everything. They were children." Monica burst into tears. We are sorry. Please, we've lost everything. Please help us. Donald walked in quietly, arms crossed. They didn't just hurt the girls, he said. They almost destroyed their lives. You don't come now and expect things to go back to normal. Monica looked up, her tears flowing. We have nowhere to go. Please. The room fell silent. Mimi stood. I've already forgiven you, she said. But I can't trust you again. Mara added, You're not part of our story anymore. You left us in the dark when we needed you most. Amanda touched their shoulders gently, proud of how strong they had become. Let them go, she whispered. They'll learn. And just like that, the door closed behind Aunt Monica and Uncle Emeka. The peace they tried to break was protected. One evening, just after sunset, Amanda received a message on her phone. It was from Mimi. We want you to come with us tomorrow. It's something important. Amanda smiled, curious, but she had no idea what was coming, because the next day would be the day Mimi and Mara finally met the men who would change their lives forever. And what happened next would shake Lagos to its core. The next morning arrived with a soft breeze and a glowing sun that painted the Lagos skyline in warm gold. Amanda stood in front of her wardrobe, confused about what to wear. Mimi's message still played in her mind. Come with us tomorrow. It's something important. No details. No hint. Just those words and a gentle smile from Mimi when Amanda tried to ask more. She finally chose a simple Ankara gown with soft purple and pink patterns, tied her hair back neatly, and stepped into her car. At exactly 10:00 a.m., she pulled into the circular driveway of Donald's mansion. The white walls gleamed under the sun, and as always, uniformed guards stood at the gate, saluting politely as she entered. Donald himself stood at the front door, dressed in a fine blue senator wear, a warm smile on his face. Amanda, he greeted, you look radiant today. She laughed softly. You're always full of compliments, Chief. You deserve them, he replied, stepping aside so she could enter. Inside the house, everything smelled like cinnamon and roasted peanuts, a sign that the kitchen was busy. And then Mimi and Mara came running down the stairs in matching off-white gowns with soft gold accents. They looked like angels. Auntie Amanda, they squealed, hugging her tightly. We're so glad you're here. Amanda looked at them with love. What is this about? We'll tell you in a moment, Mara said, winking. Donald chuckled. Let's move to the garden. The garden was large, with trimmed hedges and blooming hibiscus flowers. At the far end was a covered space set up like a private brunch, a small table, 4 chairs, fresh fruit, pastries, and cold drinks. Amanda noticed 2 young men already seated at the table. They stood the moment the ladies walked in. The first was tall, about 6'1", with smooth dark skin, neatly trimmed beard, and an intelligent sparkle in his eyes. He wore a wine-colored native outfit and held a soft smile as his eyes met Mara's. The second had a gentle looks, lightly shorter, clean-shaven, with well-shaped eyebrows and a deep dimple on his right cheek. He wore a navy blue shirt and cream trousers, his gaze settling on Mimi with admiration. Amanda raised an eyebrow, looking between the twins and the 2 men. Mimi, Mara, she said slowly. What's going on? Mimi laughed nervously. Auntie Amanda, meet Dr. Johnson and Dr. Benjamin. Mara added, they work with us at the hospital. Amanda's jaw dropped. Oh. Benjamin stepped forward. A pleasure to meet you, Ma. We've heard so much about you. Johnson added, you're part of their story. That makes you part of ours too. Amanda blushed. Oh, please, I'm just happy they made it. Donald smiled knowingly. Why don't we all sit down? As the conversation began, Amanda couldn't stop observing the chemistry between them all. Benjamin never stopped smiling at Mimi. Every now and then, she'd steal shy glances at him and blush. Meanwhile, Mara and Johnson kept nudging each other playfully and laughing at inside jokes. It was clear love had already begun to bloom. Over the next few weeks, the brunch became a regular gathering. Amanda saw how the bond grew. Benjamin would show up at Kindness Restaurant, just to say hi, but always left with a takeaway bag of Mimi's favorite puff puffs. Johnson visited Mara at the hospital with a fresh bottle of Zobo every Friday, even though they both had the same shifts. And each time Amanda teased the twins, they'd laugh, hug her, and say, "Auntie Amanda, you'll walk with us when the time comes." Still, none of them expected how fast the time would come. It was a quiet Friday evening when Donald called Amanda for a private meeting at his home. When she arrived, she was surprised to see Mimi and Mara already seated with Benjamin and Johnson beside them. Amanda sat slowly, suddenly nervous. "What's going on?" Donald chuckled. "Don't worry. Nothing bad. In fact, something beautiful." Benjamin stood up, holding Mimi's hand. His voice shook a little. "I don't know how to say this perfectly," he began, "but Mimi has changed my life. She inspires me. She brings me peace. And I want to spend forever proving how much I value her." Mimi covered her mouth, eyes wide. "I'm here to ask formally if I can marry her." Amanda gasped and jumped to her feet. "Oh my goodness, Mimi!" The room burst into laughter, and Mimi hugged Benjamin tight, nodding before she could even speak. "Yes, yes." Then Johnson knelt beside Mara. "I knew I loved you when I saw you treat a crying boy with burnt hands like he was the most important person in the world. You're strong, kind, and the most brilliant woman I've ever known. I want to build a life with you, Mara." Tears ran down Amanda's cheeks. Mara hugged him tightly. "Yes." Donald stood, voice thick with emotion. "I lost my daughters years ago, but today I get to walk two down the aisle. I never thought this kind of joy would return to my life." He turned to Amanda. "And you, Amanda, you'll be right beside me." 3 months later, the invitations were out. The venue was booked, a grand garden in Victoria Island, with views of the ocean, flowers flown in from Ghana, and a guest list that included governors, celebrities, and CEOs from across Nigeria. On the morning of the wedding, Amanda stood at the center of the bridal suite, holding 2 white veils in her hands. Her heart thudded in her chest. As Mimi and Mara stepped out in their wedding gowns, elegant, glowing, powerful Amanda could barely breathe. They were no longer the homeless twins under the bridge. They were queens. And as they held her hands and whispered, "Thank you, Auntie Amanda," the doors swung open. Donald entered. He was in tears. But just outside those doors, 2 faces waited. Faces from the past. Uninvited, unwelcome, and full of secrets. The grand wedding in Victoria Island was like something out of a fairy tale. White roses lined the golden aisle. Soft violins played in the background. Guests dressed in dazzling attires filled the beautifully decorated venue. Every camera was focused on the stunning twin brides, Mimi and Mara, dressed in flowing white gowns that shimmered like sunlight on water. Their smiles lit up the entire garden. Amanda stood beside them, holding back tears. She wore a lavender lace gown, custom-made for the day. Donald, in a white agbada with silver embroidery, stood proudly, arms linked with the twins as he prepared to walk them down the aisle. It was perfect until it wasn't. Just as the twins stepped forward, 2 familiar faces emerged from the back gate. Monica and Emeka, their aunt and uncle. They looked out of place, wearing overly flashy clothes, forcing smiles like old wounds hadn't existed. Amanda's breath caught. Donald saw them and quickly signaled his security. But before they could act, Monica called out, "Mimi, Mara, please." The crowd gasped. The music stopped. Whispers spread like fire. Mimi froze. Mara held her hand tightly. Amanda stepped forward to block them, but Mimi gently stopped her. "No," she said softly. "Let me speak." She turned around to face them, her voice steady but firm. "We asked you not to come." Monica clasped her hands together. "We just wanted to say sorry. One more time." Emeka added, "We lost everything. We've changed." Mara looked at them calmly. "So did we. We lost our parents, our home, and the belief that family would protect us." Amanda stood beside them in quiet support. Mimi took a deep breath. "We've forgiven you already, but forgiveness doesn't mean we forget. We are not those scared little girls under the bridge anymore," Mara continued. "We are women now, women who built something out of nothing. And today, is about love and not guilt. Monica burst into tears. Please, we're proud of you. We don't need your pride, Mimi said softly. We needed your love back then. Security gently escorted Monica and Emeka away. No more words. No more scenes. As the violins resumed, the crowd stood, silent but moved. Donald turned to the girls, his eyes shining. Shall we? And so, Mimi and Mara walked down the aisle, arm in arm with the man who chose to be their father, as Amanda watched with joy bursting in her heart. They said, I do, beneath a flowered arch, while the sun kissed the sea beyond. They didn't just marry the men they loved, they married a future that once felt impossible. And standing right there with them, Amanda. No longer just a poor waitress, but the woman whose quiet kindness changed 2 lives and built a legacy that would never be forgotten. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.